Yes, I can see Jean-Claude. I hope you can see me and hear me, Jean-Claude.
Yes, I can see you very well and hear you too. Excellent.
Nice.
I hope the connection is good. I'm down in the south of France, in Ramatuelle.
Okay, nice one. I can see the weather and I can see the vegetation as well. It looks good.
Yes.
It looks good.
It looks good.
Listen,
It's a nice office that I have
yeah,
here.
yeah. So are you working or you enjoying some holiday at the moment?
I enjoy working. So and I
Excessively.
enjoy holidays. So
Absolutely.
it's full enjoyment. The part of
Absolutely.
working is enjoyment, the part of not working is enjoyment, the part of eating is enjoyment, the part of drinking is enjoyment, the part of sleeping is enjoyment. It's 100%, 360-degree enjoyment.
Absolutely. Which is the trick when you're able to build your own destiny, is the situation where you feel yourself in, you find yourself
Absolutely.
in at the end.
That's the award. That's what you get if you are entrepreneur. You not only get problems, you not only get to worry, you not only get doubts. Sometimes you get great returns, and one of the great return is you get freedom. And freedom, that's one of the most important element in life, at least for me.
Oh, completely, completely. When I was traveling in some of my previous assignments, especially when I was working for brands, which was a pleasure in so many ways, but I was always astonished by how many people you meet along the line that are craving freedom and trying to find freedom. And it's such a hard thing because we look for freedom outside yourself, whereas actually it is inside that we have to look because it's about the risks that we take to be able to enjoy that freedom, isn't it?
Yes, there is a lot of things that are inside of ourselves. You know, trust. You can only trust other people if you trust yourself. You can only give love if you love yourself. You can only respect if you first start to respect yourself. So many elements are starting with your inside, and and sometimes people just forget. It's more easy sometimes to look at others than to introspect to look yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. So today, yeah, with Jean-Claude, look, Jean-Claude, I'm wearing the T-shirt as well, which is the Audacity T-shirt by Konstantin Chaikin, one of the most creative independent watchmakers out there, and he won the Audacity Prize at the GPHG with the Joker watch 2 years ago, 3 years ago already in Geneva. So Audacity, taking risks in life, in art, in business. What is risk for you, Jean-Claude? Because you seem to me like somebody that has been living with risk all his life.
Yes, but just to come back to your T-shirt, I love it. I love this approach.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
art should also be fun. And we should combine, we should never forget to have fun and to a little bit make a joke about ourselves. This is typically English. The English people, they used to make jokes about themselves, and French people are used to make jokes about others. And I prefer to make a joke about myself. And so this type of art, which is disruptive or audacity, as you mentioned, as you name it, is for me very important, and we need it. And small artisans, they can take risks, and they can have an audacity that sometimes big group cannot get, or they are not allowed, or they are afraid, etc. So the freedom of these small artisans is like fresh air. They bring new oxygen into the room.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
if you have a closed room and suddenly you open the windows. Wow! And you can feel the fresh air. And so all the independent people, they are, for me, they have the effect of fresh air. We really need them. I respect them. And I am a big fan of the freedom of the independent. And it's nothing more tragic if an independent starts to act like if he would be dependent, like if he would belong to a big group and they are shareholders. No, he should really exploit the fact that he's free, the fact that he can make a joke about himself, the fact that he give us pleasure, they can give us emotions. So that is a big advantage. Now about risk taking. Risk is a pleasure. It's like a drug, you know. I think entrepreneurs, they love risk. If you don't love risk, then you can never be an entrepreneur. Just the fact that you get up in the morning and you say to yourself, today I want to be first, different and unique, or just today I want to be different, that is already a risk. The first risk is to be different from others. If you behave like others, you have zero risk. And in English we say no risk, no pain, no gain. And that's it. The risk taking is part of the entrepreneurship, and it's so to take a risk, you must a little bit trust yourself, because in the risk there is always a proportion between failure and success. And if your risk is 90% failure and 10% success, I would recommend not to take the risk.
Yes, because then there is the doubt as well, which is the next topic we're going to discuss next week, I think. Sorry, yes. in the next broadcast. And that's another big element that has to be put in the perfect recipe.
That's a very, very big element, you know. Yeah. And I always said, but I don't want to discuss the subject today, but I always said the risk must be my friend. And if the risk is the doubt must be my friend. And if the doubt is not my friend, or if I kill the doubt, if I don't let him come in, then I am in danger. The doubt is existing, and there's a reason why we have doubts. And the doubt has a role to play in our life, has a role to play in our decisions. And we must really learn to master and to interpret the doubt. The doubt is a real great source of equilibrium. Without the doubt, we could be in danger. Now about the audacity, that's the signature of the artisans. That's the signature of the artist. That's the signature of freedom. And that's why we like it. That's why it's different. And that is why people who take this audacity, who take this risk, they should be supported. Because we should admire them. They bring, as I said before, fresh air in the room, and we need this fresh air. We need, from time to time, we need oxygen. And if you stay in a room with 6 or 8 people, suddenly people will fall asleep, because the atmosphere is becoming a little bit thick and heavy and quite hot. And when you open the windows, wow, then the fresh air comes in. And that are all the people with audacity. They are really, they bring us new ways of thinking. They bring us new ways of interpreting. They bring, as I said before, they bring us the fresh air.
So there are already a couple of questions, Jean-Claude. If you want, we can, I haven't even started with my questions, but it doesn't matter. David is asking, so this is interesting, because I'm a Richmond guy, as you know, Jean-Claude, and you obviously went.
But you don't look like a Richmond guy. You failed to stay a Richmond guy if you were a Richmond guy. You have transformed. You don't look like.
I know. It's been a long time ago, let's put it like that. But
okay.
You obviously made an impact at both the Swatch Group and LVMH as well. So you were saying before that if you are a brand belonging to a group, your creativity is limited. Of course, unless if the head of the horological department is somebody called Jean-Claude Biver. So how are you balancing that when you were at LVMH to keep the brands as creative as possible?
You know, that's the merit of the organization of LVMH and the merit eventually of the CEO, Tony Belloni, and Mr. Arnaud. They said from the first day on when they bought Hublot that they would never want to change anything at Hublot. They want to keep the DNA. They want to keep the disruption of Hublot. They want to keep the management style. They want to keep the team. They want to keep JC Biver. And in the beginning, I had some doubts. I said, okay, those are nice words, nice promises. Let's see how it develops. And they bought Hublot in 2008, and today it's 2021. They never changed the DNA. They never imposed any restrictions on the development, on the creativity, on the innovation side, on the R&D. On the contrary, they even encouraged, and they said, that's your direction, that's where you have to go. And that is something that I must say that is remarkable at LVMH, is that each maison, each house, each brand is keeping their own DNA, is keeping their own way. And you can feel it. And that gives to each brand a certain independency. And when you have this impression of independency, you can really perform like an entrepreneur. If you have very little independency, goddamn, where's the entrepreneurship? The entrepreneurship is disappearing under the requirements of the technocracy. But that's not the case at LVMH. And probably it comes because Mr. Arnaud thinks differently, because Tony Belloni, the CEO, thinks differently. And when the head thinks, or when the head acts in a certain way, it goes down from the head to the people.
If you want, I can skip to the next one. There is another question from Harrison Bird asking, how do you balance the need to be unique or risky versus maintaining reputation and legacy, especially in luxury brands? So, yeah, can luxury brands be too creative? Are there limits?
It depends what your luxury brand, what is the DNA of your luxury brand. A disruptive brand, an extreme innovative brand like Richard Mille or like Hublot, they should never become a pure classic like in the beginning of the 20th century, because they would be out of their DNA. The rule is the DNA, and the DNA must be always respected. That's the major rule. You can also say the major rule is the message of the brand. If the message of the brand, like Hublot, what is the message of Hublot? The message of Hublot is the art of fusion in the watchmaking art. So that means we have to be fusion. We have to be disruptive. We have to bring together the past and the future, because that's our message. That's why we exist. So all the rules are defined by the message and the DNA. And then you have to adapt. You have to be coherent. If your DNA is fusion and you bring products that look beautiful, extraordinary, but they look just like the purest classic Patek Philippe, so what's the sense? Then you are out of your direction. You are out of your message. You are out of your DNA. And when you are no more in your DNA, who are you? Then you are nobody. So everything is defined by the DNA and the message of the brand, or let's call it the philosophy of the brand. And then once you have defined your philosophy, the direction, then you must be coherent. And don't betray your direction. Don't betray your message. Go where your message is. And then you must be constant. Never change this. You have to have a certain continuity. And you must concentrate on this. So you see, to answer the question, it's quite easy. The management has to follow the rules that the brand has. A Catholic religion has another rule than a Muslim religion or a Jewish religion. But the three are religions, and the three have priests, and the three have direction to follow. And and that's it. And it's the same for us. Every brand is like a religion and has to follow. Every brand has his own identity, has his own way of distribution. Certain brands have 50 retailers in the world, other brands have 5,000. So all this has to be defined, and then management has to be clever enough to respect these rules, to respect the frontiers, to respect the message of the brand.
And and I come to the other question that I've just pinned in the comments in a minute, but to take to that question, I want to ask Jean-Claude, in terms of evaluating what a risk is, watchmaking sounds like a very anachronistic word in the world we're living, mechanical watchmaking. So is becoming a watchmaker still a risk, or how do you see it, for the future?
Yeah, I was interrupted by the I didn't hear the whole question, but I guess the question is the risk in watchmaking exists like the risk in car making. The risk, what is the risk? The risk is to go out of your DNA, to lose the trace of your own personality. The risk is that you cannot sell. The risk is that the sellout or the sell-in is too heavy, is too much, that the watches are suddenly appearing on the secondary, on the discounted market. These are the risks. The risk is that the watch, in a luxury watch, we can see that some pieces can last for 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years. Look at the Royal Oak next year, it will celebrate 50 years. 50 years. The Nautilus came out in 76. So it's 45 years. The Daytona, it's the Speedmaster and all this. So the risk is also that you bring something out that tomorrow will disappear. While in luxury, nothing should disappear. Everything should evolve and should connect somehow to eternity. If your Apple Watch in 5 years is old, fashioned, and doesn't work eventually, doesn't work anymore, it's not a tragedy because it's a piece of technology, a great piece of technology. But nevertheless, it's a technology that will become obsolete. While your Speedmaster should with the movement 321, the 321 should not become obsolete. That would be a tragedy. Your Daytona you buy today should not become obsolete. The Hublot you buy today should not become obsolete. So the biggest risk is obsolescence. That should never happen in luxury brands. Another risk is that you don't sell enough.
It's amazing because we don't ask mechanical watches to give us the time anymore necessarily, because that's not the need. But we need mechanical watchmaking to give us the eternity, so to give us the non-obsolescence, to fight obsolescence, so to help us reach what is forever, no?
Yes, and what is forever in our life is, if you believe in God, you have to say it's God. Then what else is forever? Love is forever. And what else? Art is forever. The art of the Beatles is still there. They don't play. They have stopped to play, I don't know, 40 years ago. And they play every day now. Mozart, more people are listening to Mozart in the 21st century than ever before. So Mozart is not dead. Picasso is still there. Mona Lisa is still there. Since she exists, it has never been more people to have seen her. So art is by definition eternal. God is by definition eternal. And if art is eternal, watchmaking art is also eternal, because the watchmaking technology with connected watches, that's different. That's not the watchmaking art. That's the watchmaking technology, the watchmaking industry. But you have the watchmaking art.
I find it crazy, Jean-Claude, that only last year watchmaking has been recognized by UNESCO as, as a form of art, protected form of art, part of the patrimony of UNESCO. We've always believed that, and of course, somebody like you believed that already at the end of the 70s, when you were obviously flipping the watch industry around by making a big statement with Blancpain and saying Blancpain will never make a quartz watch. We'll keep doing the art of watchmaking, which is mechanical watchmaking.
Yes, I'm quite pleased that UNESCO did it and that they defined our region where we have our companies, La Chaux-de-Fonds and all this region of the Jura, as the piece of where art is happening. The atelier of the watchmaking art. The atelier of the watchmaking art is all this Jura, all these mountains, that where we have cows, where we have Christmas trees, a lot of farmers, a lot of snow. This is our atelier. That's where art is happening. That's where art is born. I'm talking the watchmaking art. That's where it is born. And now we have been recognized, this region has been recognized by UNESCO. And that's brilliant. And it was, as you said, it was time that we got this recognition, that we can say the watchmaking at a certain level of performance, of accuracy, and of quality is an art. That's great. And that's also great for all the watchmakers, because they should get this recognition that they are artists, that they are masters.
I can tell you, no, for me, I was really surprised that, obviously, 50 years ago, people saw that you knew the story, you knew what happened before in Britain, in Germany, in Holland, and then in France, and then in Switzerland. So you knew watchmaking is a form of art that will be immortal. The fact that it's not only happening now with UNESCO is surprising, but yeah, I guess it's better late than never in a way. And it's nice to see it recognized.
Yes, and somehow we are very young art. The watchmaking art is nearly 300 years old. Yes, and how old is the art of painting, of sculpture? It comes from Tutankhamun already. So we only have 280 years of art. So we are a very young art.
You're so right. It must take a little bit of time to be recognized officially as a form of art. It's not something that can happen in a day. Jean-Claude, there is an interesting question from Do You Watch about how the new generations will be understanding the art of watchmaking. For me, at the limited edition, we promote the independent watch brands, and I have to say that the majority of our customers is a mix of gentlemen and ladies aged, between I would say probably 30 and 60 years old. But in equal number, the youngsters appreciate the art of watchmaking. Yes. So the question is, how can we play a part so the next generation still loves mechanical watches?
The little problem we have with our art is that most of the watches that belong to the definition watchmaking art are priced at a level that millenniums usually cannot afford. And that's a big danger, to have only watches that people cannot afford. So I am dreaming, and I'm asking myself the question, should I not develop a brand that can be called watchmaking art, but that is affordable? And that would be a great promotion if all the watches that belong to the watchmaking art, as great as they are, can never be bought by 99.9% of the millenniums. No wonder if millenniums will not get interested in something that they can never buy. So we have really to think, what can we do to get millenniums around the table? And what we can do is to offer them food that they can afford. If on the table you only have dishes that will cost a few hundreds of dollars, no wonder no millennium will come around the table. So that's a big question. Now, I don't criticize the price of the art because I know how much time it needs, what are the costs involved. So the prices are justified. But maybe we have to find a way, a little bit like I found the way at Tag Heuer when we made Tourbillon, totally new, 100% made by the Tag Heuer, 100% redesigned. But it was designed in order to be retailed at 15,000 Swiss francs. And we achieved it. And we sold it at 15,000 Swiss francs because we were able to produce it at 15,000 Swiss francs because it was designed for that reason. And from this tourbillon, we sold thousands of pieces. So maybe there is a way to bring the art in an affordable price for the millenniums. That would be the best operation. And if I could be the leader of this, that would be the best end of my career that I could dream of.
That's really interesting because Jean-Claude, we are seeing a real explosion of artisanal brands that are fairly priced. I can mention, a couple of names for all, but Sartori Billard, for example, or Garrick watches in the UK. Louis Erard, they have a sale tomorrow. They have a launch tomorrow. A new collaboration with Alan Silverstone, which is very inspiring, I think, because they're taking the conservative world of Louis Erard, mixing it with Alan Silverstone creativity, creates something completely explosive from the creative point of view, but at an interesting price point. And I have heard that it's going to be a sellout for sure tomorrow. So there is a big trend, a big movement there. Also because Jean-Claude, somewhere one has to start if he's interested into watches, and start build up his own collection.
Yes, someone says micro brands such as Baltic or Halios and of course Seiko, and I agree. I have two Baltic. I bought them. I love them, and these guys are showing us, and they are like. They are pioneers to talk to millenniums. And that is extremely important. We have to touch the millenniums. We must make the watches affordable to the millenniums. And before in 1980, we had a little bit such a phenomenon with Swatch. Swatch suddenly gave to everybody the possibility to buy a Swiss-made watch, because and the watch was called Swatch, Swiss-made. It was a Swiss-made watch, and when Swatch was selling 20-30 million watches per year, that gave an extraordinary push for the Swiss watch industry. Somehow Swatch opened the market to the new generation in those days. In the 1980s, some people were 20 years old, so they were born in 1960, and Swatch has opened to these people their eyes for watches. And then these people have bought in 1990 or 2000. So Swatch was opened the market. And we need today a market opener. And I will think seriously if I cannot play this role.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in case you let me know, Jean-Claude, because we have a few projects happening as well with some of the progressive, affordable brands. And we have actually 3 limited editions coming for the limited edition in the next year. So we can exchange ideas, definitely. Jean-Claude, there is a friend, Ziad, from Lebanon. Hi Ziad, it's very nice to see you. We haven't seen each other for ages, but I'm really happy you are enjoying this broadcast. Ziad is saying, doesn't Tudor fit into that description of a high quality, affordable alternative to the expensive brands? I have my opinion, but of course, Jean-Claude, what's your opinion?
Thank you, Ziad, because he's right. You know, Tudor is a very good example of the description of that high quality and somehow affordable price. There's another brand that will come probably strong one day. It's called Norqain. Norqain has, because I'm thinking about Norqain because of Tudor, because Norqain has the Kenesi movement, the same movement that was developed by the Rolex Group for Tudor, for Chanel, Breitling, and Norqain. And these brands they fit, I think, in the descriptions of high quality and somehow affordable, although it's still expensive, but affordable prices.
Yeah, and it is so important to keep the creativity at that price level. And this is my not problem. I don't have a problem with Tudor, but Tudor for me is a clear alternative to Rolex. That's what is in my mind, and it's very difficult to remove that to my head. It doesn't represent the affordable creative watchmaking, which is my passion in a way. That's why I look at the micro brands more for that.
Understand your point, yes.
Yeah, but of course, like at the high end, Tudor would be one of the big boys in the world of, you know, the affordable brands. So it's, you know, we can look at it in so many ways. Thank you, Ziad, for your question. Jean-Claude, I should have done this at the beginning, but I have to thank you for, on behalf of everybody, because I'm getting all the good parts of the job. So I'm getting all the thank you and amazing comments that are in reality for you, for sending your book to all those that watched the last broadcast and sent us an email requesting your book. So they're all happy. And I think we sent something like 50 copies away. So thank you on behalf of everybody.
Thank you. I'm pleased that the people enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. So to close on our initial topic, Jean-Claude, about taking risks, do you believe that we live in a world where actually taking risks doesn't make sense anymore? Because if you don't take risks these days, you don't survive.
I think we're living in a world where we have to take risks, because we're living in a world where everybody tries to do the same. And so when everybody is doing more or less the same, look at cars. Somehow you don't recognize anymore the different cars. Most of the brands, they do more or less the same car. From a certain distance, if you are not the car expert, you apart Ferraris or a few brands, many cars are getting to look more and more the same. So the more people look the same, the more you have this unification of the taste and of the trend, the more innovation will play a big role. And so whoever innovates is a risk taker. Because in the innovation, you never know, you are never sure that you will be successful. So you have, in every innovation, in every creativity, there is a certain part of risk, and that's the entrepreneurship. And we will need people to take this risk if we want our art, if we want our industry to go to the future. Because the future means innovation.
Absolutely. And Jean-Claude, risk, again, is such a strange word, because when you apply to watchmaking, if you put these brands, following brands in a list, these were all risks a few years ago. And I'm gonna say FP Journe, Moser, MBNF, Debetune, Akrivia, Recep, Konstantin Cherikin, Kudoki, Czapek, Geneve. The list goes on for ages. Risks 15 years ago, and look where they are today. So you know, it's amazing how risk can actually become certitude, you know, along the line.
Yes, you are right. This list is interesting maybe we should also make the list of the brands that have not succeeded. So we have the list on the on the right side of the names you mentioned, and on the left side we have the names of people that have not succeeded. And there are many who have not succeeded also, who are still weak. But whatever the results are, if you don't innovate, your future looks dark. Innovation, the future means innovate. The future means creativity. No innovation, no future, I would say. So we are condemned to innovate. We are condemned to take risks. And that's it. That's it. We must take risks.
Absolutely. And just to show, Jean-Claude, we are absolutely free, and we don't only take the nice questions, I mean, the easy questions. We also happy to answer a question like the one we just had from, I'm going to call it Chris, I'm not sure, but the world in pandemic situation, what's the relevance of watches to everyone? Can I go back to your analogy before, you know, when Mona Lisa was painted, or when Picasso painted Guernica, the situation in the world was what it was. Art is a different parallel universe that actually helps us going through these difficult periods. This is my take. What do you think, Jean-Claude?
Yes, I think when you look back to the past, you will find out that somebody like Picasso, he took huge risk to paint a head that is a triangle or a cubic. I mean, can you imagine what people have thought in those days? They said, but that's not, a human being is not a head with a cube, it's round.
And painting the Spanish, the Spanish Revolution with Guernica, using those provocative shapes and provocative, style.
And you have an analogy. Today, we don't use a watch to look what time it is. And Picasso, with his way cubism, he said probably, I'm now interpreting, he said probably, you don't look at my picture to see a photography of a person. You look to my picture to see an emotion, to have an expression. And that's how the expressionism is born. We were designing expression and not the real look. We were designing an impression, that's the impressionist, and not the reality. And it's the same in watches. We don't buy a watch to look what time it is, because then we would all end up buying a watch for $5.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so, I love the analogy with art, even when, of course, Chagall started to paint dreams rather than reality, he made reality look bleak compared to dreams. And of course, he bought a piece of eternity straight away when he did that. And watchmaking can do the same. That's why even when times are tough, it's nice as humans, what we can do, we can spend time with our passions and be humans rather than, just worry about the news in a way. But yeah, Jean-Claude, it's been, it is so interesting, and it's been so interesting once again. Je pense qu'un jour on devra faire ça en français aussi, Jean-Claude.
Oui.
Je pense qu'on peut tranquillement.
I would love it to have it in French. My language, I am better in French than in English. My English is a little bit poor, but in French, well, yes, I would love to make it in French, a special edition for French-speaking people. Maybe we'll have 30 followers, while in English we have 3,000. The French language is unfortunately limited to France and some African countries, and a little bit in Belgium and a little bit in Switzerland. But it's a nice language, nevertheless.
Yeah, but I've loved. you know, with the love for independent watchmaking, I've learned that numbers are very relative, you know, and who you reach is more important than how many you reach. So
Yes.
actually, we've been surviving on this for the last 5 years. So it is, yeah, it is interesting. But we're gonna do that for the French écouteur qui a en ligne. On va faire aussi un jour en français.
Excellent. Je me réjouis. Je me réjouis. And
So,
also somebody says, do it in German.
For that, I have a German-sounding family name, but I don't speak German, so I'll have to invite a friend to do that.
Okay.
So, Jean-Claude, thank you very, very much. We have our 8th episode, which was supposed to be the last one, and we're going to talk about the power of doubts, because we know with Jean-Claude, life is not all about dreaming and risking and being just, it doesn't only come as an easy thing. But there are a lot of tough moments to go through, and we're going to see through the experience of Jean-Claude how these moments reveal themselves along the journey. So, but Jean-Claude, we have an intention to carry on with some other ideas that we will reveal later on.
Okay.
It will be my great pleasure.
Yes, we have to go on. Wonderful. We have to go on. Let's do it.
Thank you.
I don't know the date of the next one, but you will let me know, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's at the end of June. We will send an information to everybody. No problem.
Okay.
So, and you take care, Jean-Claude. Keep enjoying France, and I will see you very, very soon.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
All the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.